Robert Frost Middle School. I wanted to welcome you guys to the very first virtual back to school night/day session. We're going to have another session tonight as well. We're super excited to have all of our families join us this morning. We're actually using the webinar feature of Zoom, so it's not your typical Zoom meeting. We wanted to make sure there's space to allow as many families as possible into our meetings. So there may be some limits on functionality as a result. We have a lot of fantastic information to share with you all this morning. We're going to go through the presentation and then at the end have opportunities for questions and answers. And so again, we're going to record. I want to make sure that we're able to also have the transcription on as well. So we can get started right now. We're going to get started with our introduction of our admin team. Let me tell you something. I'm extremely fortunate as the principal of Robert Frost Middle School to have the best admin team in Fairfax County Public Schools. They ensure that your children are well taken care of each and every day. Each member of this talented team will now take a moment to introduce themselves and share a little bit about who they are and what they do here at Frost Middle School. We're going to start off with Mrs. Champ.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So I'm Kenya Champ. I'm one of the assistant principals here. I have the opportunity to work with 7th and 8th grade students. I also work with world languages, civics, and history. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for being here this morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Meg Counts, and I am excited to be a new member of the Frost admin team. And I am working with our special education programs this year.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melanie Porter, also an assistant principal here at Frost. I work with our 7th grade students on the Travelers and Cavalier teams. I also work with our English language arts department and our performing arts department as well, which would include music and our theater courses. Also creative writing and journalism.
Good morning, I'm Danielle Hornbecker. I'm breaking it up a little bit here. I'm the Director of Student Services here at Frost. It's so good to have you all here. I work closely with the math department, the school counselors, our ESOL department, and our art department.
And good morning, I'm Joe Barrett. I'm another assistant principal. I'm over the 8th grade and I oversee science, PE, and the CTE departments.
Fantastic. We also have Mrs. Metzger here. She's in charge of the after school program. And we also have Mrs. Short here with us. She's going to be helping to facilitate the meeting this morning. She's our instructional coach. So again, welcome Mrs. Short and Mrs. Metzger as well. So the back to school night /day, the purpose and goals, definitely here to welcome families to our school community and foster a school and family partnership for the school year, providing timely information, pertinent information around things like Schoology, grading, the after school program, some of our school policies and procedures, and family resources that you guys can use to help your children be successful this year. And it'll also give you an opportunity to learn a little bit more about your child's classroom teachers and courses asynchronously this year as well. Okay, I wanted to start off by reviewing our Frost Middle School vision statement. We use this typically every single day, and I don't know if somebody has their mic on, you might want to turn that off if you can. Frost Middle School is a community where students and staff know that they matter while learning and growing together. We are one Frost Middle School, and I use that tagline, we are one Frost Middle School, every single day. I remind our students to work hard every day, to be nice to one another, and widen your circle. We have over 9 feeder elementary schools. That's 9 school principals, 9 school cultures, 9 way of doing things. And then we have to come together at Frost Middle School to do it one way. We are one Frost Middle School. Within that vision statement, there are 2 ideals that we kind of hold true and that are foundational to everything we do at Frost Middle School. Frost Middle School is a community where students and staff know that they matter. Within that, we have this concept of efficacy. Everybody at Frost Middle School has something that they bring to the table that can positively affect and impact a student's life in academics. The second part while learning and growing together. Within education, we never stop learning, we never stop growing. And so that second idea is this concept of continuous improvement. Even though we are very confident in our abilities to impact student achievement and student outcomes, we are also humble enough to know that we have to continuously grow and improve each and every day as educators. Our Frost mission statement, we create meaningful relationships to foster a caring and inclusive culture. We engage in experiences to inspire curiosity and confidence. And we help our students to develop problem-solving skills to help them thrive in a diverse and ever-changing world. So we're really proud of our vision and mission statement here at Frost Middle School. I wanted to remind everybody, if we can have Mrs. Short click on the Back to School Night website. We have our very own website, has been sent out, I think twice now, yesterday and today. And it gives you a little bit of information about accessing Frost Middle School's teachers asynchronously. You'll also see a little bit of this in our Schoology course. But what you have to do is to meet your child's teachers asynchronously, you're going to look at the videos linked below on this website. You're going to use the password #OneFrost as the password, and it is definitely case sensitive. So you have to type in it exactly as you see it. So when you log in, let's say you want to go to an English teacher, it's going to say join with your guest password. So you click on English Language Arts, you scroll down, it says enter guest password, you type that in, and once you hit go, you'll see all of the English Language Arts teachers listed. And then what you'll do is you'll click on your child's teacher on the video that's provided, okay? And you'll do that for your child, each of your child's teachers, to go meet them asynchronously today. As you continue to scroll down in the Back to School Night website, we'll have our school board welcome back videos. Now this will have all 12 school board members represented. It'll just be a continuous loop. So you'll play one video, and then once the one video is done, then it'll go on to the next and next. You can actually advance through to see the videos of the people that you would like to see as well. So all of our school board members are represented at the bottom of this website. So that website is on our school webpage, and it's also located in Schoology for your convenience as well. We'll go back to the presentation. Okay, so that's the Back to School Night information. Next up, I wanted to remind all of our families to please join our PTA. We had our very first PTA meeting last Thursday, as a matter of fact, and it was extremely well attended. We had parents participate both in person and online via Zoom, and we had over 80 parents in attendance last Thursday. So it was very, very exciting, very amazing. Our PTA president, Ms. Allison Pugsley, has been doing a great job along with the executive board, but we've continued to need your support. We've actually doubled our membership so far from last year, so that's exciting news, but we want as many families to join the PTA as we possibly can to make sure that we are able to support our classroom teachers with any grant programs that they apply for, that we have the funds needed to support our students. So in addition to joining, we also need you to volunteer. There are a lot of volunteer efforts that the PTA will need you guys for. So go onto the website, the Frost Middle School website, to log on to the PTA there's a PTA website, and you can join as shown. So we need everybody to stay engaged, stay connected. So sometimes when you move from elementary school to middle school, there's a tendency to say, you know, let me kind of take a step back as a parent, but no, we want you to remain engaged. And one of the best ways to do that is to make sure that you stay engaged through the PTA. All right, so next up we have Mrs. Metzger, who's going to give you a little bit of information about our Frost Middle School after school program. Ms. Metzger.
Hello. Let me see if I can get my video on. No, my video's not working, so you guys don't get to see me, but that's okay. There's a picture of me right there holding on to that that rolling pin. I am super, super excited for after school this year. We're going to be in person. Our program starts a week from Monday on September 27th. The program runs from 2:30 to 4:30, 5 days a week. We have late buses on 3 of those days, which is Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then our parent pickup days are on Tuesday and Friday. Late buses get to Frost between 4:30 and 4:45, and they're usually have all pulled out of Frost by 5 o'clock. So they should be getting home somewhere between 5:10, 5:30, somewhere around there. Our goal for the after-school program is to provide a safe, engaging, fun atmosphere for the kids during the after-school hours. We offer a wide range of activities, all different sorts of clubs, from sports, recreation, fitness. We have art clubs, all student interest clubs. We have some competition clubs like Model United Nations, Science Olympiad, Math Counts, Technology Student Association. So you might want to know, how do you get your child involved in after school? First thing, most important thing is that you register your child for after school, which gives them permission to participate. Does not mean they have to participate, just means that they can. And then your child shows up to the club that they want to participate in. There's no early signing up for different clubs. They can go to whatever clubs that they want to go to. The only clubs that they have to make a commitment to is if they get on one of those competition clubs, you know, like the Math Counts or Model United Nations, because they're going to be going to competitions and preparing for those. So the school club list has been posted on the webpage. It's been posted in Schoology. I'm going to be putting it up in all of the classrooms this week for the students. So both you and your children have access to that, and you can look through that club list and see what kind of activities that they want to participate in. I would say one thing that's really important is that you have that communication with your child, so that you know that they're staying after school, because it can make you feel a little panicked, and you know kids get out at 2:15 and it's now 3:30 and they're not home from school yet. So have that conversation about, are you staying after school? Are you going to be staying with a teacher for academic help? Are you going to be staying for one of your clubs? So just kind of keep that line of communication open with your children. One other thing, if your child wants to start a club that's not already on the club list, something that they're very passionate about, very interested in, have them stop by my office, which is room 405, and I'll talk about it with them, and I'll see what I can do to help them get that club started. I'd like to have student-initiated clubs, because this is their program. I want them to be involved in activities that they like to do. So I'm really excited to meet your kids. I can't wait for things to get started, and thank you, and welcome to Frost this year.
All right, good morning again. I'm excited to talk about student services, which consists of our school counselors. In this picture, you'll see Mr. Jew is on the left of me. He is working with 8th grade this year. Miss Dunn is to the right. She's working with 7th grade. Miss Avina is working with 8th grade. Miss Balderson, 7th grade, and Miss Gibbous, 8th grade. I would encourage you to check out, they also have their videos posted on the virtual back to school night. So they've posted a video for each of you to view. Will be supporting our students with academics and social emotional well-being this school year, doing school-wide lessons, also doing academic advising in the winter to pick classes for next year. They also have a Schoology course where they post announcements and information for students, resources that are definitely helpful. So please encourage your students to use that this year as well. We also have 4 amazing clinicians that will be working with families this year, 2 school psychologists, Dr. Zabel and Ms. DeLu, and 2 social workers, Ms. Lindsay Looper and Ms. Henry. So we encourage contacting teachers and counselors whenever you need some support. We also do encourage, the first step is that our students reach out directly to their teachers, either through email or in person. They definitely want to open those lines of communication, and they definitely want students to feel like they can advocate and go to them when they need some help. For parents, though, you can also find teachers' contact information on the website, and there's the directory list there. Also through Parent View and also through Schoology, you can find those contact information. And we usually expect our teachers to respond within our 2 business days. For grading this year, we're going to be using the rolling gradebook, which is a cumulative gradebook. This is different than a traditional gradebook, which a lot of families are accustomed to. And that gradebook of the traditional gradebook is really when our 4-quarter grades are each averaged in together to make the total average. Whereas our rolling gradebook continues to continue to get that cumulative average. So for instance, if by the end of the 3rd quarter, what you're going to see on the gradebook is actually the average of all 3 quarters. At the end of the year, you'll see the average of all 4 quarters, and it continues to go through that way. So there's information that was sent out previously, and we would encourage you to look at that. There's a video that you can watch regarding the gradebook with some helpful information as well. Just also remember, we have a lot of our teachers using Schoology. However, some of the teachers' graded assignments will not be in Schoology, so SIS is the gradebook of record. You can definitely see individual class syllabus and the specific weighting for assignments in the SIS gradebook, and that is beginning already. So last week, you should have access to it. If you go to the gradebook icon, you can see your students' individual grades to date. And we do ask teachers that they continue to update the gradebook within approximately 7 school days. In Fairfax County, you also can receive a weekly snapshot of grades, which really is exactly that. It's a snapshot of the grade that your student will have in each of their 7 classes. In addition to that, our teachers will be emailing detailed progress reports, which means that you will get to be able to see, for let's say your math class, all the grades that have created that snapshot grade. And that's just to continue to keep the lines of communication open with our families, because we want to be proactive and make sure that these grades are seen on a timely basis. Report cards will be mailed only at the end of the year but with the rolling gradebook, they will not be mailed at each quarter grade, because those are just snapshot grades. So those aren't final grades for the quarter, they're just snapshot of where your child currently is at that moment.
All right, so I'm going to chat with you all about Schoology. Schoology is actually our new learning management system. You may be familiar with FCPS 24/7 or Blackboard in previous years. FCPS and Frost are no longer using that management system and have shifted over to Schoology. All of our teachers use that program. Parents, you do have to have your SIS Parent View account in order to access your Schoology account, and information about this has been sent out, but you can also find information on how to set that up on our homepage. Schoology is a great resource for our students and our families because it really does help to integrate the Google Drive and Google Classroom within the system. Parents still do have a separate login from their students where you can see a lot of really important information. There's a Frost page, important dates, other updates, but there are some things that you cannot see. I believe Ms. Hornbecker might have touched on this a bit. You can see things like due dates and a description of assignments, but what you wouldn't be able to see is the actual assignment if it's in the Google Drive. So what you would need to do is still log in using your students' information in order to actually see what an assignment looks like. And as Ms. Hornbecker said, SIS is still the gradebook of record until the Schoology system and SIS begin to actually talk to one another, which is the plan for the future. They don't currently talk directly to one another, but once they do, then you'll be able to see whatever is in SIS in Schoology. But until then, if you want to know that snapshot view of your student's grade, you will want to look at what is in the SIS gradebook. And then again, like I said, you can see our website for additional information around Schoology and your Schoology accounts. Next slide. So here we're going to show you what you would see when you log in. So the learning management system, that's the address there. And once you log in order to go to the Frost page, you would go to courses, And then it'll have a list of all the courses that you might be a part of. So if you have multiple students throughout the county, maybe you might see more pages, but the page that is for you and the course that is for you is the Frost All Parents course. So if we click on that, here you'll see the announcements page where you'll have lots of important information. This is a course that we encourage you all to check periodically to see what new information might be there for you. So for example, the information about back to school night was posted there. And we also have some information for you to review for FLE. So that is a really important resource for you all as parents.
Hello again. So attendance, you can go to the next slide. So attendance is very important, and we definitely want your child here when they are safe and feeling healthy. However, when your child is not here, the absences need and must be reported. So as you can see, you can log on to the Frost webpage, and I'll put that link in the chat for you. Also, we have a tardy line, and you can also email when possible. So there's 3 different ways to report your child's attendance. School communication. So we do this in a variety of ways, and hopefully you are getting all the communication that we've been sending out. So we definitely do a Frost weekly email on Fridays. We have the website, and there's a lot of information that can be found on our Frost website. And if you have any questions, we also have school hours between 7 to 3:30, and there's the telephone number. And if you want to find out if you are connected via socially or you on social media, you can follow us on Twitter, and you can even follow our principal. And finally, you definitely should be getting email and text through eNotify. I will also put in the chat, if you are not receiving any communication from Frost Middle School, you can contact Susie Morningstar. So I'll also put her information in the chat just in case you are one of the few that are not getting any communication. And lastly, required forms. So these forms are a must. And if you have not been, if you have not returned any of these forms, you should have received an email. Right now, we are currently missing over 300 forms, and we really need for you to fill and complete these forms out. In the case that you don't know where to find them, I'll put that link also in the chat, and that's on the Frost page. And also, if you do not have access to a computer or a laptop or anything like that, you can come in person and fill that out. And once again, if you are missing any forms, that person's name, Susie Morningstar, you can also email her if you need to.
All right, so Falcon Focus may be a class that you've heard your students talk about. It is an embedded period every other day on our even days during 4th period that we use in a variety of ways. This shows you our schedule for Falcon Focus. Our 7th graders and 8th graders are somewhat on 2 different schedules during Falcon Focus, but each schedule contains the same elements. So students start out the period watching the news, which will, I believe next week or around the 27th is when our students will be the ones on the news. It's been Mr. Harris up until this point, but we'll have student news. Then our 7th graders have a brain break for 15 minutes. And then they go into their advisory period. We also have school-wide lessons, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And then all students at the same time go to intervention or office hours. This is a time during Falcon Focus where students can go to teachers to make up work, especially if a student is absent. This is a wonderful time to get back on track. And if students are having questions about the current content that they are learning in class, they can get help that way. And it's time for them to also work on homework and things like that. Our 8th graders are on a very similar schedule. They do the news, then the advisory and lesson, brain break, and then they go to intervention and office hours at the end of Falcon Focus. So Falcon Focus has several objectives and reasons for what that time is for. So it's really important to us because it's an embedded time every other day where students can build positive and meaningful relationships with the adults in the building that care for them. We want all of our students to at least feel connected to one adult and feel that they have a trusted adult in our building. And so this is a perfect time for those relationships to be built. It's also a great time for students to make connections with one another. And it's also a space for students to strengthen their academic and social emotional competencies. There's opportunity for them to explore interests that they may have. And so it's a really important time for our students to focus on their social emotional needs and their academic progress. So for our school-wide lessons, this covers a variety of topics, all of which are tied directly to our mission and vision as a school community. So this year, there are lessons around the social emotional learning competencies, digital citizenship, academic and career planning, which is done by our student services staff. And this occurs during the first Falcon Focus of each week. Sometimes we have 3 Falcon Focus classes in a week. Sometimes we have 2. So after the first Falcon Focus class of the week, any subsequent class after that is considered advisory. And during this time, students go through a schedule of there's always a welcome, there are some announcements, acknowledgements, and then they usually will do an activity. And these activities are a lot of times relationship builders and community builders, so that students within that Falcon Focus class, not only do they have a trusted adult that they connect with, but they also have a small school community that they're able to connect with as well. One thing that has changed as we're still in the pandemic, but what came out from our learnings over the past year and a half, 2 years is, the importance for students to really take a break during the school day from schoolwork. And so what FCPS has done and what we have incorporated at Frost are brain breaks for our students. And again, this happens during Falcon Focus, and it gives them just that, a break from instruction for the day. And it's around 15 minutes, and students are able to really do what they want. They're supervised, but students have the ability to go outside. As you know, we're under construction and renovation, and so some of our outside spaces are limited, and so are our larger spaces that we used to have prior to the construction. So not all students are going outside during the brain break, but there is opportunity for students to get outside, have some fresh air, walk around. But we also have games that students can play. If students just want to take a break and just sit, do yoga, a mindfulness practice, whatever will allow them to take a break from instruction for about 15 minutes, they can do that at that time.
All right, so good morning. So as Ms. Porter just alluded to a little bit, we have limited outside spaces right now because we are currently under a full renovation at Frost. Really, and I'm not going to read the full slide, but really what we have at Frost is it's a construction and a renovation right now we're in the construction phase. So if you've come to the school recently, you've seen there are 2 additions being built, one at the front of the building, then one at the side of the building. The construction is set to last the rest of this school year, and over the summer, a lot of teachers inside, can you back to the other slide, Meg? A lot of teachers on the inside of the building are going to move to the newly constructed building, and then the renovation will actually begin. If everything goes according to plan, and right now we're on track and it's going well, we will have a brand new building in the fall of 2023. So once the construction happens, and once the construction is finished, we move folks from the inside into the new building. They will renovate the inside of the building, and then teachers in the modular unit and in the trailers will move into the building that summer. So again, completion is fall of 2023. We expect to have a brand new building then for the school year to begin. So this is the first part I was speaking about. These are the 2 areas that are being constructed, and the purple areas. So on the right-hand side of the screen, the purple areas are mostly admin and office suites, whereas the left side, the picture doesn't quite do it justice just how big the space that is, but that's 2 floors, and it's probably about 30 classrooms. It starts out at the front curb, wraps around the entire building, and where it ends there on the kind of the right side is where the blacktop currently is, and we're hoping to get at least a little bit of the blacktop back. So that's the phase we are in right now. Next slide. With this, there are a lot of adjustments to the building. There are a lot of construction people around. So safety is always the priority. We do have a lot of the COVID protocols we are following on top of the normal construction protocols. And what I mean by like normal construction protocols is that construction workers on site always have to be clearly identified that they are not part of the Frost faculty. They also are separated from the students at all time. So there's a construction zone of fences and signage that they do not enter, or I should say they do not exit, and Frost students do not enter. So at no time is any construction crew coming into contact with students or staff. We also have 2 representatives from FCPS Design and Construction on site at all times, plus a representative from the contracting company. And we meet with them daily. Any concerns we have about anything such as safety, we go over with them. And then we have a more structured meeting every 2 weeks just to make sure the teacher concerns are being heard, student concerns are being heard, the project is, on track, and so to speak. And they follow the same safety protocols we do. They have to be masked up the whole time as well. And around the building, we still have hand washing and hand sanitizing stations, as well as in the cafeteria that we encourage students to use. Next slide, Meg. So once it is all said and done, this is a rendering of what the building will look like. Rendering, of course, means is not exactly like this, but this is a close estimate of it, where the main facade of the building will be a lot of brick and a lot of glass. The picture on the top is the front addition, kind of when you first come down Pickett Road, what you'd be looking at. And then the picture on the bottom is where kind of door 2 is, and that addition is being built to the left of door 2, kind of the space where the old library was. And so that's renovation and construction. And this is just kind of a heads up that there are a handful of assessments that we're doing. Some have already been going on in classes. You may or may not know that just from talking to your children, but next week we'll have the fall growth assessments, kind of to get a baseline of what our students need to learn by the end of this year. October, there'll be some writing assessments through English class. Earlier, Ms. Porter talked a little bit about the SEL lessons. There will actually be an assessment for that in October. And I want to say it was just last week, Ms. Morningstar sent out an email about those assessments with the opt-out form included. So just kind of an FYI, we have a lot of assessments going on here. Again, just making sure that we have a good understanding of where our students currently are and where they need to go. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Harris.
Okay, I wonder if you can hear me. Can you hear me, Mr. Barrett? Okay.
I can hear you.
My mic and my camera icon still say that I'm muted, but I think you can hear me. So I wanted to talk a little bit at the end. We're getting to the end of our formal presentation here. Talk a little bit about health and safety. You know, knock on wood, knock on my wood head. Things are going pretty well at Frost when it comes to health and safety. So I want to remind all families of a few things. The first thing is to hold up when everybody do their part. So first thing is, if your child has any symptoms, there seems like they're sick or they're complaining of a stomach ache or etc., to please keep them at home. Okay, and the reason is because once you send them to school and they complain of those same symptoms, you're going to have to come and pick them up because we have to make sure that everybody's safe and healthy. And so if students have certain symptoms here at school, and those symptoms have not been kind of codified in the clinic or through your clinician, and that we're aware of, then you have to come and pick them up to get them checked out by a physician. So at the very least, make sure you have your child stay home if they're not feeling well. That'll protect them, and it'll protect all of their classmates, and also will be less stressful on you and your family because you have to come pick them up if they're exhibiting any COVID-like symptoms here at school. So that's first thing. So hold up. Second thing is mask up, and students have been doing a great job of masking up here at Frost Middle School. Very few instances where students have not worn their masks. Want to make sure the students are wearing their masks at all times when they're in the building, on any FCPS property, including the school buses. So please continue to do a great job of reminding your son and or daughter or both to make sure they remain masked up at all times. Next up is make sure to get the vaccination. The vaccination, as we all know, is very, very important. If your child is of age and that you make the decision as a family, please consider, if you have not done so already, to make sure you get the vaccination so they're fully vaccinated and they're able to access instruction. One of the cool things, or one of the most the newest updates is sometimes for COVID reasons, we may need to pause students from in-person instruction for various reasons, obviously. But if your child is fully vaccinated and your child has been paused and they're asymptomatic, there's a high likelihood that they'll be able to return to in-person instruction quicker because they've been fully vaccinated. So again, obviously for their own health and safety, for my health and safety, for all of our health and safety, we want to make sure that everyone is vaccinated. But there's also actually an added benefit for vaccines for instructional purposes as well, in the case that a student is paused here at Frost Middle School. And this is a policy across Fairfax County Public Schools. And lastly, we would just encourage students to cover their mouth when they're coughing or sneezing, make sure their masks is on, make sure they wash their hands plenty of times in the day, use hand sanitizer throughout the school day. There's hand sanitizer throughout the school building, in every classroom, in the lunchrooms. And so we want to make sure that students are taking care of their personal hand hygiene throughout the school, and respiratory hygiene throughout the school day. And just to remind up as a wrap up, to remind you to please join the Frost Middle School PTA. That information again is up on our website. And finally, to make sure you go and take a chance to go and access your child's classes asynchronously. You can use our Frost Middle School Back to School Night website. Again, use that that password #OneFrost. It is very case sensitive to access all your child's teachers' videos, and you can do so asynchronously this year. Okay, so that's the presentation that we have this morning. We're going to open it up now. Mrs. Short is going to help us open up the presentation for any questions that you may have. It is now 9:46. The presentation is set to go from 9 to 10 a.m. this morning. So we have about 15 minutes for questions at this point in time. Let me see if I can get us together here. Okay. All right, so Ms. Short, you may have to help me out because it looks, I think my screen is frozen.
Okay, absolutely. If you do have any questions at this point, you should see a hand raise feature as a possibility on your screen. If you are here with us today and you do have a question, go ahead and raise your hand and we will be able to turn on your audio so that you can turn on your microphone. All right. And just in case that isn't working, I am also going to turn the chat on so that if you have a question that you wanted to ask, you can go ahead and type it in the chat as well if the hand raise feature is not working for you right now.
Yeah, and if you click on participants at the bottom right hand side, this is for Mrs. Short, any host. On the bottom right hand side, there's 3 dots. And I think that would allow the host to enable folks to raise their hands.
Okay, so we're getting some questions in the chat. The first is about how to get a SIS account, or I believe that's probably parent view account, if somebody wants to take that question.
I was going to say, I'm just going to put Emily Chang's email address in the chat, but Ms. Chang can definitely get you set up with an activation key and a SIS account.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Hornbecker. I believe if you have your control panel in the 3 dots where it says more, hand raise should be a feature that you can put raise hand. But if that's not working, you can continue to ask questions in the chat. So the next question is to access the teacher videos. Mr. Harris, if you wanted to remind people how to do that.
Yes.
Well, I was just, so I think, sorry, Anthony, I was just trying to break up the voices. I think Ms. Porter had put the link in the chat. If you go to the Back to School Night site, from there is where you can access the teacher videos. I'll drop it in there again, but this is the link you can, oh, I don't want to do that. Wrong thing copied. I will put it in there momentarily, but it is in the chat. And that is how you access the Flipgrid videos for Back to School Night.
All right. Our next question is, will 7th grade students be able to have lockers at all this year? The bags are very heavy with their laptops.
I will also take that. So this is actually, lockers are kind of a bigger question because newer buildings are actually going with 50% capacity lockers, meaning that if your school has 1,500 kids, you get 750 lockers. And that is a countywide trend. And the belief is that most kids aren't using them regardless. So if a student requests a locker, we are providing them to them. So if your child has said they have trouble carrying things around, they just need to talk to their counselor or their admin, and we can get them lockers. And we don't have all of the lockers available because some have already been removed because of construction. And for many students, we talked about whether or not we provide lockers. So many kids are going from trailer to trailer, or trailer to mod, that it's just easier to carry their backpacks. So if your child would like a locker, they're welcome to have one. They just need to talk to either their counselor or their admin, and we can get one for you.
All right, great. So our next question is if somebody could put in the chat the email address for attendance and tardiness again. So if you needed to email about that, I'm going to trust that one of our admin team are going to do that. The next question is how will we receive the results of the assessments given this fall? I'm not sure who wants to take that one.
Meg, just with the attendance line, the same link I put in earlier for Back to School Night, at the bottom of that is the place to submit the absences online and the attendance phone number.
Okay, great, thanks.
I can answer the question for the fall assessment. There is not going to be any score reports for that assessment. That's for the math 7 and 8 and reading 7 and 8.
Thanks, Ms. Metzger. Yeah, those are really to see growth from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So they are not how you would traditionally think of SOLs as being a pass mark or a pass advanced. That's not going to be the case for those. Last year, I know they mailed home a copy of the score report for the reading inventory and the math inventory so that you could see if your students were on track in those two measures. I'm not sure if the county has decided, that was a county level decision. We're still looking into if they'll be mailing those home, but teachers will be communicating with you those scores if they have not already put those in SIS, even if you don't get the mailed score report home this year.
Yeah, with the reading inventory, there were a lot of technical issues, not necessarily at Frost, but throughout the county. And so the county pushed the date for other schools to October to extend the window so that the provider could work out some of the access issues that schools were having, but our teachers will communicate through SIS. But like Ms. Short said, you know, that is really just a piece of baseline data. And what we really want to see is what are those scores at the end of the year, at the end of course. We'll also have students take the reading inventory in the winter, just so you can kind of see that ongoing progress of your student. But as far as county communication around the reading inventory, that will not come out until October due to the technical issues, but our school will communicate those prior to.
Thanks, Ms. Porter. A parent is reporting problems logging into Schoology. It should be the exact same credentials that you're using for Parent View. Do we have a contact of who they should email if that continues to not work?
Yeah, you can email myself or your student's counselor just so we can get that information to you to figure out how we can troubleshoot. So email your student's counselor for that information.
Okay, great. So we have some questions about being able to enforce or mandating or collecting vaccine records. I'm not sure if somebody wants to speak to immunization records generally.
Just regular vaccination records. That goes through student services as well. Mrs. Chang, she can gather that. She will be the point of contact for any immunization record that families may have to update that information. So that's Miss Emily Chang in the student services office.
Great, thank you. Ms. Hornbecker, I think this question would be for you. Are students going to receive a hard copy of their mid-year report card or not unless it's requested?
Yep, I tried to answer in the chat, but they'll be uploaded in SIS in the Parent View tab. There's a report card tab that Ms. Chang will be uploading those at the end of each quarter so that parents can print, but we can also, when requested, send one home.
Okay, great, thank you. So there is a parent asking the difference between Schoology and Parent View. I'm just going to speak to that really quickly. Schoology is our learning management system. So this is where any kind of coursework that students need to access online, whether it's through the Google Suite or through a third-party app, this is where students would find all of that for Schoology. Some of those assignments, which are assigned through Schoology, will also have a grade assigned to them in Schoology. Parent View is where you will see all of your students' grades, but you will only see their grades. You won't see the other content. You won't have attachments of things of content. You wouldn't be able to see any of the notes or anything like that you can access in Schoology. Schoology is more like what Google Classroom functioned as in the past, whereas Parent View remains the gradebook of record. All right.
Let me hop in and answer a question about so we had the lockdown drill yesterday. It actually went really well. We actually followed COVID protocols during the lockdown drill. But one of the things, just, safety is obviously a big concern because we have 32 classes outside in trailers. So the backside and the far side of the trailers are actually blocked off because of the construction work zone. So people cannot come in that way. During every transition, we have multiple frost staff outside at every exit door, just making sure, cars aren't entering parking lots or students aren't lost going to the wrong places. Every trailer door has a locking mechanism on it where they're always locked unless the teacher specifically unlocks it. And we also have window coverings down that they're supposed to have up because they're exterior classroom doors. So we do have two safety and security assistants here, and we do regular walks around making sure that there is just nothing unusual happening outside. And then as for the HVAC question, we do have HVAC systems out in the trailers and the modular unit and the Frost building. They're all three different units. So, hypothetically, there is heat and AC. Sometimes within the building, because we are an older building, we do have failures of such. We've had a couple rooms without AC this morning, and we just have to call in maintenance for that. That happens almost never in the modular unit, either with AC or heat. Happens every now and then with the trailers, mostly because, when you're trying to quickly erect a little city of 32 trailers, some things, there are accidents, it happens. So we get maybe once a week, there's an issue in the trailer, the building, because we're still running on parts from 1964. Sometimes we have a little more issues. So, we continue to work on those. And, the construction, even though it's a lot outside, they do a lot of what are called tie-ins to the main utilities at the building. And sometimes we have interruptions with that. So there is working AC, there is working heat, just within the building. Sometimes it's not perfect.
All right, thanks, Mr. Barrett. Ms. Hornbecker, I think this question is probably for you. Can you explain the cell screener assessment that was emailed to families last week? That might be Ms. Porter. I'm not sure actually which one of the two of you.
I was gonna say, either of us can answer that. I am trying to put the link in the chat, but it's a countywide assessment that's being used this year. And the actual questions are provided on the link that you can actually look at what your students would be asked, and it's on a Likert scale. And then we are supposed to be getting that information to kind of address some of our cell lessons and our learning that we'll be providing to students throughout the school year, and also if there's specific students that we need to follow up with. But I will put the link into the chat in a moment.
Okay, thank you so much.
Lunch question, also just in general. So the lunch periods actually are longer than they were last year. And what we are doing, and I can relate for the children who are feeling rushed, because what we are trying to do is get kids through the lunch line as quickly as possible, then get them outside as quickly as possible. So lunches are free this year. So you actually go through the lunch line pretty quickly because you don't have to enter in your number or anything like that. And I can't speak specifically to your daughter, but I do many lunch duties, and I can tell you that most kids are finished. No one has come up and complained to us that they don't have enough time. But there is a little bit of a rush because we are trying to get kids into the outside spaces as quickly as possible. And we are trying to do it in an orderly fashion. And, so as most of the kids are coming from the outside areas into the cafeteria, we are hustling kids to sit down. We're hustling kids to get into their assigned section, so then we can start dismissing them to the lunch line. So then we can start dismissing them to outside. So I can definitely agree with that it does feel like it's a little rushed, but it is the same amount of time. And we're just trying to get kids outside as quickly as possible.
The other thing as well is we also are required to wipe down the tables in between lunches, and we have limited staff who do that. There's an administrator, Ms. Short helps, our safety and security folks help, and some of our custodial staff helps, but we also have to make sure that we wipe down the tables in between lunches. And there actually really is no time in between lunches. We have 4 lunches of over 1,200 students that we're trying to serve during that time, while also wiping down the tables and just follow safety protocols. So we do dismiss a couple minutes before the end of each lunch in order to be able to do that and to keep kids safe. I would honestly say that the last lunch of each day probably has the most time to eat, because we don't have to clean in between lunches. We can wait until the very end of that particular lunch period and not have to have the students leave a little bit early. I would say that, students are able to use their phone and they're talking with their friends. So sometimes students will prioritize that over eating first. So that's just something, and maybe an ongoing conversation to have with students, is just asking them to prioritize eating first and then going into that more social aspect, which we want them to have during lunch, but that can kind of eat away at some of their time. So.
All right. It looks like we do have one more question about lunch. If kids bring their own lunch, can they go directly outside? And I do think there was also a question about monitors and if parent volunteers would be helpful in order to get more kids eating outside.
So I can answer the question about going directly outside. Students do not go directly outside. They come to the cafeteria first, and then we dismiss the students. Again, we have limited space outside, and so we want to make sure that we are providing as many students the opportunity to get outside as possible. But because we have limited space, we can only allow a certain number to go outside. And so the way that we do that, in order to be fair, is depending on what day of the week, that section of tables, we have 5 sections, Monday through Friday tables. They're released outside based on the day of the week. And so if Monday, those students have the ability to have first priority of going outside until we fill up the space outside. So they do not go directly outside because we're trying to ensure that we're being fair with who can go outside, and also that there's supervision outside with the limited space we have.
All right. Thanks, Ms. Porter. So there have been a couple of questions about with COVID, is there more leniency on sick days? And also, can students access online learning if they are sick because of the COVID protocol?
I'll jump in here. Something is, you might see me twice, on here, but my computer is kind of acting up, and my phone is, I'm on my phone. So questions about leniency for sick days. I would have to get more information about what that means. But yes, when students are out sick, now that we have Schoology, families can use Schoology to keep track of assignments and any course materials from their classroom teachers. You just reach out to your child's classroom teacher as normal. If you need to, make sure you reach out to your student services counselor as well to help your child navigate, keeping up with their instruction while they're out sick. But leniency, I don't know. I wonder what that means when it comes to that. But we're trying to be as accommodated as possible throughout this time. Understand that we're in the COVID situation. Folks are being very, very careful and being responsible by keeping their children at home. And so we really appreciate that. So if that's what you meant, then yes, we are being a little bit lenient when it comes to sickness, when it comes with that respect. So I feel kind of weirded out because I can see myself twice on here. So.
Yep, it is. It's kind of funny. I can hear a little echo sometimes. Okay, so there was a question about after school, if Ms. Metzger is still here. The question, I believe, was, are students allowed to attend after school any day or any after school club that they would want to?
Yes, they can. One day they can go to art club. Let's say art club is on Thursday, and then the following week they want to go to basketball, which is on Thursday. So they can alternate the clubs. They can go to as many clubs as they want on different days. They can give them a try, and they might decide that's not for them. Then they want to try something else. So any day, any club is fine. Yep.
All right, great, thanks. So there were several questions about being able to see your students' homework and things like that in Schoology. So the way the Schoology platform is currently set up, when teachers put assignments in Schoology, you can see on the calendar icon the due dates that those students have. You can see virtually everything that your student can, with the exception of any document within Google Suite. So in the same way that you could not see a Google Doc, a Google slideshow, things like that previously, you still cannot see that. If you are in Schoology though, you should be able to see the calendar icon. You should be able to see any announcements, any instructions, any descriptions of assignments that teachers put into Schoology. They are aware of this kind of almost shortcoming, we might say. And so teachers are trying to become more diligent as they learn the Schoology platform about including as much information as possible in those descriptions. But that's currently one way that you can see your students' assignments and hopefully keep up with them. As I said, there should be a little calendar icon. I believe it's in the top right-hand corner of Schoology, where you would be able to see any assignment that is due if it's been assigned through Schoology. If teachers are doing something that is not online, let's say they're doing something that is paper pencil in class that is not related to an online platform, that obviously is not going to be in Schoology, since that's really only for our online assignments. I hope that's helpful in answering some of your questions. Let me see. The holidays. Okay, I'm not sure why that is. That's something for us to look into about why it might not be showing you how to do that. So at this point, it looks like there's another question. I want to see the homework. Again, if it is assigned through Google, that is simply not possible without your students' login credentials. If you have your students' login credentials, you would be able to see all of that. But that is still one of the kind of problem-solving issues we're working out. And that's not something we can control as a school, or I believe even as a county. That has to do with things within the digital platforms themselves. Miss Metzger, there is a question. Is there a soccer club at Frost?
Not this year. I don't have soccer club. The kids can play soccer on Tuesdays and Fridays in Club Frost. But no, we do not have soccer this year. We have lacrosse and we have basketball.
Okay, great.
I see a question from Mr. Howard, Zach Howard, I think, about accessing the Frost Middle School back to school night videos. The back to school night videos are not located in parent view. Okay, the Frost Middle School back to school night videos are located on the website that we sent out. It's in Schoology. And what you do is when you go, I don't know if you can go back to that page, Mrs. Short. If you go back to the very top, once you click on the website and you go to the subject area, I'm gonna wait till she gets there. Once you get to the subject area, you're gonna type in #OneFrost. That's the password that you need to click on or that you need to enter. So to see the videos for the back to school night for your teachers' classes, you click on one of the subject areas. Okay, for example, science. And the password is included is #OneFrost, and it's case sensitive. Okay, and so you go down to where it says, have you use a guest password, #OneFrost. And once you put that information in, then you'll be able to see your child's teacher and the videos that are associated with it. So that's how you enter in to see the videos for back to school night. Okay. I'm trying to see. What else here? Got you. So, yep, that's in there. Okay.
For the math inventory test, it is an adaptive test. It will give you a range that your student is scoring within. It is not going to, it's not like the SOL where there's a perfect 600. There will be a range that will either identify advanced, proficient, basic, below basic. So it's not a single score like you might be used to on the SOLs, but it is an adaptive test based on how the student is doing. Okay, let's see if I can find any other questions. So it seems as though there are some road bumps along the way with Schoology. That is the case for us here at Frost. For our teachers, as we are trying to figure things out at home, we understand that everybody's having that issue. So we do ask that you would be patient with us about that. It looks like we have a question: can students change the view in Schoology to have the assignment view so that when things are done and turned in, they don't show up? So to be totally honest, I don't know the answer to that question. That's something for us to look into and to really be trying to figure out what capabilities we have. That's something that we can look into. And then once we have a better understanding of it, we can certainly share it with our teachers. It should be noted already if it is classwork or homework, as far as the different category that the assignment is in. But again, I understand that it may be hard to necessarily see all of those categories. I'm trying to see if there are other questions that we missed. Ms. Metzger, I believe you do have a list of the after-school programs. I'm not sure if it's live on the website or soon to be live on the website, but I know that's been something that you're working on.
Yes, it is on the school website. I posted it and it's up and it's in Schoology. So it's ready, and I think we'll probably send it out to our families sometime later this week.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Short and all the admin team. At this time, it is now 10:13. We've gone over 13 minutes for the question and answer portion of the presentation. I hope you were able to get at least a lot of information from this presentation this morning. Again, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to your child's counselors or to a member of the admin team for support. Again, thank you for coming this morning. Thank you for your time. We will have another session tonight, but it'll be the exact same session as this morning, so no need to come to the night session if you came this morning. Thanks again for joining us, and I hope everybody has a fantastic day. All the best.